What's up guys? Welcome back to InvestingPH. Today we will be discussing and valuing a big company here in the Philippines, which is Aboitiz Power. We will be going in detail what each of their businesses are, and we will look at their financials like we always do when valuing a company. So again, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to my channel. So what is Aboitiz Power? So Aboitiz Power Corporation or AP was incorporated on February 13, 1998 as a holding company for the Aboitiz Group investments in power generation and distribution, as well as retail electricity and other related services. Its initial public offering was in July 2007. Since its incorporation, AP accumulated interest in both renewable and non-renewable generation plants. The company holds all its investments in renewable energy through Aboitiz Renewables Incorporated or ARI and non-renewable energy through Therma Power Incorporated or TPI. The company supply electricity to franchise areas covering a total of 18 cities and municipalities in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Now this is their ownership structure. Aboitiz Equity Ventures has 77% of ownership, 1.79% from its directors and officers, 1.99% from its affiliates, 17.21% from listed common shares, and 2.01% from non-listed preferred shares. Now let's look at their energy portfolio. Still, their largest is in the coal, which is 58% of their total energy output, amounting to 2,706 megawatts, plus the oil with 698 megawatts. But what I like about it is they are starting to increase their renewable energy, namely their hydro, geothermal, and solar power plants, amounting to 1,248 megawatts or 26% of their total portfolio. Now this is why Aboitiz Power was the one I supported instead of Meralco, since they are now focusing on renewable energy, whereas Meralco is still only planning to add renewables to their portfolio. I think AP is the second largest distributor of renewable energy in the Philippines, while the first is FGen. Correct me in the comment section guys if I'm wrong. I only got to research about Meralco, FGen, AC Energy, and AP. So let's break down where they get that power from. This is a lot, so bear with me guys. First is the run-off river hydro plant. Now they have two branches that runs their business here in this division. First is Headcore. Headcore is owned subsidiary of Aboitiz Power. It specializes in generating renewable energy from run-off river hydropower systems. Today, Headcore manages and operates 21 hydropower plants and supplies the country with 258 megawatts of clean and renewable energy, with more than 40 years of experience. Next is SN Aboitiz Power, developer and operator of 100% renewable energy facilities, is a joint venture of SN Power of Norway and Aboitiz Power. Currently, it's running one run-off river plant, which is the Maris Hydro, which gives off 8.5 megawatts of power. Next is their large hydro plants. Currently, they hold 3 hydro plants which is managed by SN Aboitiz Power or SNAP. First is Magat Hydro, which is 360 megawatts. Next is Binga Hydro Plant, 140 megawatts, and lastly, Ambuklao Hydro, which is 105 megawatts. They have upcoming projects for large hydro plants, and these are Maris Canal Hydro Project, Ifugao Hydro Project, and Alimit Hydro. Next up, their geothermal power plants. So this is managed by AP Renewables Incorporated or APRI, one of the leading geothermal energy producers in the country. Delivers clean and renewable baseload power with 2 facilities. First is Macban plant, which generates 448 megawatts. Second, Tiwi plant that generates 234 megawatts. Next up, their solar power plant. This one is managed by San Carlos Sun Power Incorporated. Operates a 59 megawatts utility-scale solar photovoltaic power plant located in San Carlos, Negros Occidental. This facility is the first solar power plant project of Aboitiz Power. Next up, their coal-fired power plant. So this is managed by different branches. First, Thermal Luzon Incorporated or TLI manages 700 megawatts Pagbilao coal-fired power plant. Second, Therma South Incorporated or TSI manages 300 megawatts circulating fluidized bed coal-fired power plant in Toril, Davao City. Third, Therma Visayas Incorporated manages 340 megawatts CFB coal-fired power plant. Fourth, GN Power Mariveles owns two 316 megawatts pulverized coal-fired power plant located in Mariveles, Bataan. Fifth, GN Power Dinginin operates 1,336 megawatts power plant in Mariveles, Bataan. Sixth, Pagbilao Energy Corporation operates 3 units which has a base load capacity of 420 megawatts. Their other subsidiaries are STEAG Power, which operates a 232 megawatts coal-fired power plant, and lastly, Cebu Energy, which operates 382 megawatts circulating fluidized bed coal-fired power plant. Next is their oil-fired power plants. This is managed by Therma Marine Incorporated. Operates 2 power plants, namely Therma Marine Mobile 1, 100 megawatts, and Therma Marine Mobile 2, 100 megawatts also. Second is East Asia Utilities Corporation, which operates a 50 megawatt Bunker C fired power plant. Third, Cebu Private Power Corp operates a 70 megawatts Bunker C fired power plant. Now that that's done, let's go on to their financial statements. Now, if this is your first time watching my videos, I suggest you watch my first video on how I pick my stocks. I set an example there for you. That video is in a much slower phase than this. Now let's go. So we will still follow our checklist, although we will also look at some additional infos. The site I'm using is investing.com. So first in our checklist is their net income growing year after year. Now we can see from 2017 and 2018, their revenue and net income were increasing yearly, but during 2019 and 2020, it fell down. Well, this is not surprising for us because of the pandemic. Many buildings were not used because of the work at home. Some large businesses were closed. With that, those buildings weren't using electricity. So yeah, this is normal reaction for their net income. But right now, let's put an X in our checklist since they had a 2-year fall in net income. Next is their equity growing every year. So their equity seems to be holding up quite well, even in the pandemic, because their total equity is still increasing year after year. Now that's a check for us. Now we'll look at the return of equity. So this is from MSN. Aboitiz ROE is 15.7% average in the past 5 years. Now this is also a check for us because what we want is to have an ROE of 15 to 20%. Next is the company's free cash flow growing every year. Their free cash flow is growing yearly, except for 2020. Well, it's still good for me knowing the pandemic and all, so that's a check for us. Again, I filled out the missing free cash flow for 2020, which is 26,311. Again, this is in the millions, so it's 26.3 billion pesos. Now let's look if the company is handling debt well. So we go back to their balance sheet and look at their long-term debt. If we divide their long-term debt to its free cash flow, it would take them 6 years to pay using their free cash on hand. Well, we are quite conservative in our checklist, so we like minimum 3 years. Kinda close, but let's not be biased. So it's an X for our checklist. Next up is the PE ratio. Right now, AP has a PE ratio of 13.31, so that's a check because what we want is below 15. Now let's look up their dividends. So AP regularly pay dividends. Actually, they increase yearly their dividends. But sadly, due to the pandemic, they lowered their dividends in 2020 and 2021. Still, it's more than 3% yield, which is not bad. Now, for the company's moat or their competitive advantage, well, this is the energy industry and everyone needs electricity. That one is already a competitive advantage of the company. And they are one of the largest distributor here in our country. And also in the future, they are increasing their renewable energy to half of its energy portfolio, which is also another advantage because I know in the future, renewable energy will be the go-to energy source. And I also like that to happen. Although their renewable energy portfolio is trailing from their competitor, which is FGen, it's still a hefty economic advantage to be the top RE producer in the country. Next is the company governed by a good leader? So their CEO is Sabine M. Aboitiz, elected director of the company on May 21, 2018, and has been the company's president and chief executive officer and chairman of the board executive committee since January 1, 2020. And he is also the chairman and director of a lot of companies. So I think our leader has a lot of experience. So that's a check in our list. Now going on with our last checklist, which is our buy price for the company. So my computation for its intrinsic value is 38.86. but I put in a margin of safety, which is 30%. So my buy price is below 27.2. Now last year, my buy price for this company was I think 30. But since they already have a 2020 financial statements, I updated my buy below price for it. So ever since last year when AP's price fell down, I was consistently buying it. And right now, if only I have enough capital to allocate, I would buy even more. Its price is really down. In the creation of this video, it is trading at 22.75, which is really low. The last time its price was like this, it was in 2010. Right now, AP is my largest holding, amounting to 14.5% of my portfolio. So let's see how it did in our checklist. So it scored 8 out of 10, failing in the income statement and the long-term debt. Still, it didn't fail so bad on those aspects. One of it was because of an uncontrollable event that we have now, which is the pandemic. So looks like that wraps up our valuation for this company. So I hope you guys got a lot of info from this video. Again, if you have any comments or something to point out about this video, just comment down below. So thanks again and see you in my next videos.